So if you've ever wondered how in the world to figure out how much board footage to buy to build a project in your shop, we've got a free tool for you to use called the Project Planner. It helps you take your project idea or even a project plan or even a SketchUp plan and turn that into a list of materials in terms of board feet and square feet for solid hardwood lumber. So while it's limited to that, it does help you do some approximation for what you need to buy and therefore how much you're going to spend on to make your project. I'm going to show you how the Project Planner works by using this nightstand as an example. So from anywhere on our website, you can get a copy of the Project Planner. It's right here in the Buying Help section, right down here. It's just an Excel file that we've formatted to help plan woodworking projects. And the more that you browse our site, you'll probably find that we put this button in a number of places, such as on the ordering page. So let's download a copy of this. And you'll see there's no registration, doesn't ask me for my name, doesn't ask me for my children. It just, you click it, it downloads, and we open it up. Now when you first open the planner, you might be prompted to enable editing in order to enter data in the worksheet, so just be sure that you do that. So there's the planner, and it's pretty simple. You have 3 areas to edit, and then this yellow area is where you'll see the approximation for how much wood you'll probably use to make that project. And down here, you'll enter your project parts. Here, you can enter the names of the woods you want to use, which is optional. And up here, you can change the default waste factor, but more about that later. So let's plan a project. A small nightstand with a drawer and a shelf. I'm going to make this out of walnut, maple, and maybe a little bit of ebony for an accent. Right up here, our estimation has now changed to reflect those names. And this has created a drop-down list with the names to help you keep the parts properly identified. It's pretty cool. The drawer front I'm not going to put in here because I happen to know that the drawer front in this case is the same as that front apron. And same thing with the drawer bottom. Drawer bottom is going to be made out of plywood, so I'm not going to enter that on this sheet. This sheet just deals with solid hardwood lumber and produces board footage and square footage for us. Top is walnut. All these parts up here are walnut, so I can select them. I can also type it in. Okay, if I make a mistake and type in something that doesn't work, that's not in this list, tell me if it's invalid. Part sizes. So here you'll need to identify a thickness that's already listed here, but it will display it in fraction form. I'll also enter the dimensions using decimals, and it will convert it to fractions for us. I always want to make sure that you include a piece count. So far, no calculation has run yet, because we've not included a piece count. We're going to include a piece count, bang. There we go, now we've got a footage. Let's continue on. So now we have an estimation of what to buy. There are a couple of things to be prepared for with this estimation because it isn't perfect. First, it doesn't know exactly what's available at your hardwood lumber dealer. For example, it's suggesting here that we buy a couple square feet of both 1/2-inch thick walnut and 1/2-inch thick maple, but 1/2-inch thick lumber isn't always a stocked item. In this project, I'll need to find out first. And if it is, great. If not, well, I gotta do something different. One, I'll need to roll these quantities into the 4-quarter estimation and just plan to plane it myself, or have a small amount custom planed for me, or just come up with a new solution for my project. You probably noticed that this piece of ebony didn't even register in the estimation, but that's because the size is so small that it's insignificant when it comes to computing footage. If there were more parts labeled with this kind of wood, then they would all add up together and show up in the estimation with a number that actually had some significance to you. Just be aware of that. There's also a waste factor adjustment. Since you've got to start with something larger than your project parts in order to cut them to that size, you'll need to anticipate a waste factor. But don't think of it always as waste because it's really more like a woodworking factor. When you're building a project, you'll want enough wood to not only cut boards to size, but you'll need enough in order to work around defects you don't like, arrange pieces for color matching or color mixing, and the same thing with grain and figure, of course. And everyone makes a mistake once in a while, so you might need to recut a part or two, and it's good to plan for that. I would rarely suggest a waste factor less than 1.5, so that's where this drop-down list starts. If you're really picky about color, grain, or defects, just use a higher waste factor. So here's another important point. You might be wondering why the sheet suggests 8-quarter lumber to make 1.5-inch legs instead of 6-quarter. Well, 6-quarter is 1.5 inches in the rough.
but not once it's surfaced clean. It just can't yield 1.5" final thickness. So I've got to start with something a little bit thicker than 1.5" in order to end up with 1.5". And in this case, that's 1/4.
So let's say I change the table leg sizes to 1 inch. Now it's suggesting I use 5/4 lumber to make those legs, and that makes plenty of sense. You start with 5/4 and work it down to yield a full 1 inch. But just like 1/2 inch lumber, 5/4 isn't always available in all woods at all times. So just understand that using this project planner isn't a perfect tool, and that you may need to adjust some things based on the material you have available to buy or what your capabilities are in your own shop. Unfortunately, in woodworking, there's more than one way to accomplish the same thing. You just might have to do a little bit of thinking to get there.
So that's the project planner. Hope you find it pretty useful, but if there's anything that's still not quite clear, like that, or if you still have any questions, just post them down at the bottom, okay? Thanks.